So Dave,
Yes, Boner.
a Roman walks into a bar and orders a martinus. The bartender says, "Don't you mean a martini?" And the woman replies, "If I wanted a double, I would have asked for one." Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Nerd Glasses podcast. I'm Boner.
I'm Dave Mann.
And that was a joke brought to you by me still listening to the Fall of Rome podcast. So, hi! Can't hear you. Are you sure? Can you hear us now? Are we good now? Very quiet.
Well, let's check what microphone he thinks we're.
Sure. Checking.
It's the Yeti.
Okay, it's on the Yeti, and it looks like that is. Oh, I see. The volume slider on that is brought down a little bit. So go ahead and bring that back up. That's probably helping a little bit, and I can crank the gain just a little bit on the back side here. We don't want to peak it, but I'm going to talk loudly, and yeah, that's probably about how that's going to be. Demon Dragon, how's that sounding? And Dave, is that what that normally is? I feel like that's normally... whatever. I don't think the joke was worth repeating, so I think we can just kind of go into it. There you go. Cool, cool. Thank you, Demon Dragon, for helping us with the audio right off the bat. It would have been super embarrassing to have had half of this be at an outer whisper. So, yes, welcome back to the Nerd Glasses podcast. I'm going to kick things over to Dave because there are a ton of awesome new releases coming out in the next 7 days. Dave, do you want to bring us on that journey?
Very excited to, as we said before, we were adding this segment because it was going to start getting thick, and then it wasn't for a little while, but here we are.
And now it's thick.
The fat's truly starting to gather. So for the folks of the fans of a little bit of Obscura, a little bit of pop culture, a remaster of Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne is going to be coming to the Nintendo Switch and the PlayStation 4 on October 29th. Make sure to check that out. It is a series that you can enter at any point.
Okay.
Nocturne was released long enough in between each of the other mainstay games where you can, but it doesn't necessarily hurt you all that much to not jump in at that point.
Okay.
Speaking of remasters and re-releases, Pikmin 3 Deluxe will be hitting your Nintendo Switches, which will include a new prologue and epilogue featuring Captain Cat Olimar and Louie, cooperative play in the story mode, a reintroduction of Piccolopedia from Pikmin 2,
Yeah.
and all the DLC from the Wii U version. So for the great price of $59.99, you too can have all the Pikmin that you can literally shake a stick at.
That sounds like a good remaster. Sometimes it's just like, dude, did you even try anything? That sounds like it's got some good bonus additional stuff.
Yeah, it's got some meat to it.
Yeah.
Which is
Sick.
fun. So this next game, it's a little bit obscure, but someone had mentioned that they were excited about it coming out. It is a game franchise that originally started in 1994 on the Super Famicom.
Yep.
And it is Umihara Kawase, and it is getting a release on the PlayStation 4 and Windows. It's the first game from 1994 getting remastered and ported over to the PlayStation 4 and to Windows. If you're a fan of... let's see.
So has that had North American releases before? Because you specified Super Famicom, you didn't say Super Nintendo.
It originally was just the Super Famicom.
Yep.
And then the later releases came on the PlayStation. The first title, Umihara Kawase, came off on the Microsoft Windows.
Okay.
Worldwide on November 2nd, but did not have its own North American console release until the PlayStation, and then the PlayStation Portable.
Okay.
And then it had a couple other releases on the handhelds in the U.S. So this is going to be their return to form on the console. It is a platformer. A sushi chef who sake of the game becomes lost in a world of surreal saltwater and freshwater creatures. Imagine the hijinks that can occur when you know that you're moments away from the plate. It looks like a lot of fun. It doesn't look like a game that's going to change gaming forever. But it looks like you're going to have a better time with it than you would with something else. we are also looking at a spiritual successor this Friday, actually, to one of my personal favorite games, the spiritual successor to PT.
Okay.
It is a game that was specifically designed to be an homage to what didn't happen.
Yeah.
It is called Visage, and it will be on the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, and Windows, available this coming Friday, just in time for Halloween streaming.
See, you said an homage to what didn't happen, and I was thinking our news story from last week with what exactly was it? It was like Crash or something like that. That it was like, hey, no, it wasn't Crash, but it was like, hey, here's this unreleased thing that we're gonna doll up.
Oh, Golden Axe.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Which was Golden Axed, which
right.
Did officially, I looked into it, did get taken off of the online stores, because if you're going to backhand an entire company that none of those people still work for them,
yeah,
you probably
so
should.
this wasn't like that. This was presumably put out under better auspices.
Well, I mean, the PT went out in the worst possible way. Kojima got fired. We're not going to be getting another Silent Hills game,
and it's basically impossible to play that game now,
unless you already have it, like me.
Yes.
And you've backed it up on 3 different things, because you know what happens when you back it up on just one thing. So it's going to bring a connection between life and death, and it's going to play a lot like Phasmophobia somehow.
Huh.
But
interesting. I always find it interesting how like games come out having had two completely separate development cycles and then come out and be so similar to each other.
Yep. It's always unfortunate when 2 game companies think they have the greatest idea, and then they come out against within stone's throw of each other.
Yeah.
And then you realize that, wow, great ideas are great ideas, and more than one person has them.
Yeah, like they're basically nothing alike, but Split Second and Blur both came out in the same year.
Oh, yeah.
But they're both combat racers. They both came out in the same year after we hadn't had combat racers for like 5 or 6 years. And then see also the year that saw the release, at least in early access, of Elite Dangerous, No Man's Sky, and Star Citizen was right around the corner for Space Sims. Really funny when stuff like that just comes out all... Among Us came out 2 years ago, but it got big this year around the same time that Fall Guys got big. So Little Bean people go, wee!
It's still Vladdy, and if you don't have Vladdy in your game, it's the person that's playing yellow. It's always them.
It's true.
You should always get rid of them. Speaking of it's always them, Dark Pictures, the franchise that is going to have 8 installments in the Dark Pictures anthology. They make different horror games.
Okay.
Supermassive Games, who also worked on, and I now, of course, the second I'm looking at it, the name flew straight out of my head, Little Big Planet. They worked on Until Dawn, which is the thing I'm thinking of. Now they got commissioned to an 8-part franchise under the idea of, hey, each of these games are intertwined by some thematic elements and a little bit of characters, maybe here and there.
But it's
to
an
be honest,
anthology of individual games. It's kind of, a couple years ago there was the what the hell, like Love, Death, and Robots or whatever.
Yes,
Netflix
yes,
anthology.
loved that. Check that out on Netflix, by the way. Definitely worth your watch, especially the last episode.
I never watched all of them, but there was one that was based on a short story that I really enjoyed, so I watched that a few times over.
Nice.
So.
Which one was it?
Beyond the Aquila Rift, or the Aquila Rift, where the guy is like outside the galaxy kind of thing, and it was all like this weird eldritch horror thing at the end. Spoiler alert.
Oh, okay.
Which it plays out very different from the short story. I enjoyed writing up the comparison on it, but each is successful in doing what they wanted to on their own terms.
Nice. So speaking of successes, Dark Pictures had the original game, Man of Medan, which again, ironically enough, had some eldritch horror elements and things like that. This next one is going to be called Little Hope. Survival horror, third-person perspective, 5 different characters trapped in, because it's 2020, it's a ghost town. In 2 different ways. Throughout the game, players need to choose different dialogue options, which will influence the course of the narrative and relationships between the protagonists, because they will remember that.
Yeah. it's so you said they're commissioned for 8 games.
Yes.
I can't help but feel pessimistic and think that they'll get through 3 to 5 before the project gets canceled and never sees completion.
If they manage, the good news is because they're doing smaller sized games, they're keeping production costs low, and they have been able to, Man of Medan well outsold what it needed. So it, fortunately, that one game swung out and got them the contract for the next 7.
Okay.
So if any of them sell
I
any
still
bit,
remember 13 years ago when we were still expecting Half-Life 2 Episode 3 to be a thing. Oh, they're doing them shorter and episodic, so they'll totally be able to deliver.
yeah,
So I'm sorry I've been burned before. I would be surprised if they get past 5.
I really wouldn't
Pleasantly
compare
so.
this
I'm
franchise
pulling for
to Half-Life though. Half-Life was quite a change in video games and things like that. Whereas Man is just basically making a playable Black Mirror.
Yeah.
And taking place of, in some cases, a more detail-oriented Telltale Games.
Yeah.
And since they're out of the pool now,
True,
it's all
true.
pointing towards what will hopefully be a completed in the trilogy.
They also didn't make a distribution platform and become publishers instead of developers, which also definitely impacted the rate of Half-Life coming out.
Yes.
What would the term be for an 8-part just saga, I guess. I know there's
probably
trilogy, quadrilogy. It probably continues up along that, like octilogy or something. Octilogy actually sounds kind of cool. Anyway, I am pulling for them to do the full set. As much as I have my doubts that it'll happen, I do hope that they're able to do that.
So the biggest one, and the one that got the most publicity that we've all seen now for a couple of years, and to be honest, faded into the walls because you forgot that it was coming out. Watch Dogs, it's still alive, Legion.
Yep.
You remember the advertisement? There was the old lady, she had the rocket launcher, everybody laughed, they tap danced, they said that the system's coming next year, and then it did. So that's going to be coming out this Friday. It is Friday.
And then you'll finally be able to play Watch Dogs, the 2020 simulator.
Yep. In looking at this game on GameStop Motor, I ran into something, and I want to show you why this is going to be an enormous headache for people who work in video games retail.
Oh no.
It'll be super interesting. So they're making it on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PS5, and the Series X. Fine. You know your PS4 copy, really good, nice and fine.
Yep.
You know your PS5 copy, they did a good job of contrasting the top.
Okay, the PS5 box looks like that. The white banner instead of blue, but otherwise looks very similar.
So
okay.
I'm gonna click on the Xbox One copy, and
it just says Xbox.
It just says Xbox.
Dave.
And then there's a little black box in the corner that says Series X, and the banner that nobody reads. They have truly screwed me for another generation worth of headaches and people bringing up the wrong game.
And do you know what the last games were that just showed Xbox like that, in that logo, in that font?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And I hope you bring one of them up here.
I'm looking for them. I don't know necessarily how you have them alphabetized.
So, this is going to be nothing but a headache for your friends who work in video games retail. My God. Just look at how lazy that is. I understand that the Xbox One didn't sell that well, so they're probably going to reuse packaging and all these other things, so that's why you keep the banner. But
okay, but tell me, are they going to put the disc on the correct side of the case this generation?
Probably not. They're going to be edgy.
Damn it. Anyway, I was looking for the Burger King games, and I couldn't find any over there. Like Sneaking, Big Bumping, and I forget the third one. They just, as Xbox 360 games were coming out, they just showed the Xbox 360 logo without the 360 part, so it said Xbox in the new font. Just make a sign that has pictures of the Xboxes and have it say, point to the system that looks like yours. But that doesn't even work.
The problem is...
Because, yes, there's the original Xbox. There's the Xbox 360. There's the Xbox 360S. There may have been another hardware revision in there. There's the Xbox One, the Xbox One S, the Xbox One X, and with all the different color permutations of all of them, they could end up looking similar to each other. If you put an S and an X, Xbox One S and an Xbox One X next to each other in front of me, I probably wouldn't be able to tell you the difference.
Thanks a lot, Microsoft. However, I do hope your console does better this generation.
Yeah, again, we talked about which ways could it possibly swing. Would they gain ascendancy like they did in 360 versus PS3 again? And I'm interested to see how that shakes out. By the way, as long as we're talking about how consoles look,
yeah,
I saw a photo of a Kotaku writer who has a PS5, and they put it in their entertainment console, and that boy is chunky.
It's enormous.
Like, you can say, oh, it's big, whatever, but like if I don't have a console in arm's reach, but like if this is the size of an Xbox One, this is the size of a PS5. It's big.
Yep. They really...
People don't get to make fun of the original Xbox for size anymore.
They really went back to the drawing board and said, now, we could put a big-ass fan in it, or we could just give the thing so much room to breathe that it won't need a big-ass fan.
And to be fair, I do really like the look. I like the look of the PS5. It's beefy, but I like it. And again, if it has decent passive cooling and doesn't give us shell-shocked people a return to the days of the Red Ring of Death because of poor ventilation and awful aftermarket fans on the back that actually just break your system worse,
yeah,
then good.
So that is all the games that will be coming out in the next 7 days. If there's any titles that appeal to you or anything that you're hyped about, let us know. We would love to have your input on that segment and any segment in the future.
Meanwhile, I'll look back at the last 7 days of activity on Twitch. And first off, last week we talked about Alicia 12297, who was banned for she revealed a pet mill, puppy mill, kitten mill kind of thing, and the company more or less told Twitch to take it down kind of thing. So she had 2 weeks offline. She came back on Friday and raised $2,500 for the Humane Society. That fundraising kind of plateaued. As of this morning, she was at $2,838.
Yeah.
But still, like, right out the gate, and people being like, yeah, I want to help because you're doing good stuff, and it's bullshit what happened to you. So that's really cool. But it just wouldn't be good for the segment if we didn't find someone who was banned. Korean IRL streamer Jinny was banned for 7 days. This was her second ban of the year. Her first one was just 48 hours, so 7 days.
Yeah.
She was in Germany driving a scooter. She has no driver's license, and she was driving the scooter very erratically. She ran a red light, dangerously swerving, nearly hitting pedestrians and other vehicles. And she's like, oh, well, it's just a lack of experience, but banned. Twitch is like, not going to encourage that behavior. First off, even if you are a good driver, interacting with a camera, even if you're not reading chat, if you're just talking to a camera, you are driving measurably worse. Tom Scott did a video on this, and he used to do a fair amount of pieces to camera while he was driving.
Yeah.
And then he did a video that was that we searched it and checked his reaction times while driving down like a training thing. One while he was just focusing on it, and one while he was talking to the camera. And measurably different. So, like, don't do that. Twitch was like, don't do that. Especially because you have no idea what you're doing over there. Stop it. And it's interesting because as an IRL streamer, she's on vacation, she's in Germany, and so a lot of it was that she was looking forward to the content that she could produce while she was there.
Yes.
Now it's like, well, now your vacation is a little more unplugged.
Well,
not necessarily a bad thing.
We've noticed that a lot of streamers that do in fact make a living streaming content seem to conveniently get themselves small bans for things seemingly almost intentionally when they need some time off without then riding into it.
That's an interesting take on that. I'm not going to necessarily agree, but it's an interesting take, and I'll have to kind of keep an eye on that. I definitely, when I was on a cruise last summer, it took 24 hours for me to go stir crazy and, to all of a sudden be like, I have energy and I'm enjoying myself. I should talk to a camera.
there is always a ton of interesting things always going on the internet. And that includes our friends at GameStop.
Ooh.
Now, they weren't declaring themselves COVID-free, a la their past where they said that they were essential, even though no one told them they were even open.
I forgot about that, Dave. It feels like 7 years ago.
No. This time they did what big businesses do best. A sale. It was a very large sale this past weekend. They're trying to incentivize people to snap up old stock. They were announcing that there was a ton of very good PlayStation 4 and Xbox One titles that were going to be $5. For $5, you could walk away with thousands of hours worth of content. You're welcome. Which would have been awesome, and I really wish they had have announced that with more ahead of time so that we could say something like that to help that. Because the games that were on it were diverse, expansive, and all of the hits from the start of the generation.
So it wasn't like they plucked Madden 14 and said, "Here, have it for $5."
No, it was like so your The Witcher and a bunch of other of the mainstay AAA titles.
Yeah, okay.
Unfortunately, as some people know, when you're coding, one errant line can offset, let's just say, an entire online store. So, Cheap Ass Gamer on the 23rd noticed around 1 p.m. that they could buy from GameStop.com a Nintendo Switch, the turquoise color, for free. Because it was free through the sale. They could also then pick up some other games and titles absolutely for free, or for pennies on the pennies.
Wow.
And including the gaming accessories and things like that.
Yeah.
Some people got what they ordered, and some people got the GameStop flatly going, well, you know this was a mistake, and thank you very much for bringing it to our attention by ordering something. Ha ha ha.
Wow. Yeah, and like that's an interesting thing to do, because on the one hand, I totally get where GameStop's coming from. Like, no, you know that a free Switch is bumpkus. So, like, to some extent, there's that, but others like, oh yeah, this game that's free, well, I don't know, benefit of the doubt, fine, here. Because otherwise, negative press can hurt you more than that sale can.
I think it was the idea that, like, there's the first wave of people that were actually on the site and realized it, and then there's the second wave of people that were told, hey, by the way, free stuff, come loot it.
Yeah, they may have done, like, all right, anyone that placed an order within the first 30 minutes of it being found, here. Anyone else, we assume you got here through your friends snitching on Twitter.
Which is hysterical and very unfortunate that GameStop has once again befallen, especially on a financial boondoggle like that, to lose systems and the like. It does seem it was the items that they did have an overstock of. So, I mean,
clearly.
Two birds, one stone. Although shipping wasn't free on the Switch, though. So, for $5, excuse me, you didn't get it for free. You got it for $5. Shipped straight to your home. But, God, you open mouth, insert foot, the story of GameStop in the 20s.
Yeah.
I really hope that they are able to steer the ship and at least figure out a pivot point to either make themselves more marketable so that they can be sold to another company, so that all of those jobs can potentially be saved. They will obviously downsize once they're sold.
Yeah.
But at that point, people that are in middle to lower management will be able to cash out them checks.
Yeah, because like as much as we like to rag on GameStop, and as much as the layperson says, wow, they only gave me 50 cents for this game, and like part of it, that's the whatever. But as much as, that's the layperson view, and as much as we're like, they do sometimes try to take advantage of you with their subscriptions and protection plans and this, that, and the other thing. As much as all that negative goes for them, they are still basically the only game store in town for a lot of their markets. We're very privileged to be able to have indie game stops here in the capital region. No, so indie game stores, wow, in the capital region. We're very fortunate to have that, and the same can't be said for the middle of Nebraska.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Dan. I do hope that they keep going, because if GameStop fails, a lot of people are going, no matter what the reason for it, they're going to say it's, well, physical media is dead. And as much as indie game stores will still be around doing classic physical media, whatever, it is going to accelerate us to a future where you don't actually own your games. So GameStop, please stick around. Please tough it out. We're pulling for you. We're better than you, but we're pulling for you. You got this, little buddy.
I'm trying to see which state has the least amount of GameStops. Because if they do go under, Boater, do you want to open a GameStop? If we figure out we're the only game in town, they'll have to spend $80 for Punch-Out. Surprisingly, GameStop doesn't give us that information freely. Smart move, GameStop.
They probably did before this year.
Also, let's address that little rumor. It wasn't 50 cents they offered you. It was 75 in store credit. Just because you didn't listen the first time doesn't mean it's their fault.
You're lucky that they would accept your copy of Madden 14 anyway.
The amount of people, by the way, that like I want to trade this in. Well, how much am I going to get for it? Well, in store credit, you're going to get $35. And how much in cash? $25. $25! Yeah, there was a $35 price tag before that. I know you think that it's worth something, but it's not.
Yeah. Dave, do you want to rag on another big company real quick?
Well, sure. I heard that the Great White North is a blustering about something, Boater. What's that about?
Sure enough, a lawsuit was filed in Canadian court against EA for the contentious issue of loot boxes. Yeah, Canada finally had a case get to a point where they can join the rest of the world in ragging on EA. I'm not going to go too far into it. We already have talked about loot boxes to death. They are citing games going back to 2008, and more or less saying that gambling is a regulated activity, and that you have been operating gambling in your video games outside of that regulation. I do want to do the list really quick here. Because in the suit, which is a combination of two lawsuits, one in Ontario, one in British Columbia,
interesting.
More or less two that came around at the same time. They've been combined and turned into a class action thing. FIFA 09-21, Madden NFL 10-21, NHL 11-21, NBA Live 14-19, UFC 2 and 3, Apex Legends, Battlefield 4, Battlefield Hardline, Battlefield 1, Dragon Age Inquisition, Mass Effect 3, Mass Effect Andromeda, Need for Speed Payback, Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare and Garden Warfare 2, Plants vs. Zombies 2, It's About Time, Star Wars The Old Republic, Command & Conquer Rivals, Heroes of Dragon Age, Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, The Sims Mobile, War Friends, and such other games developed and published by the defendants that may become known to the plaintiff. It is a little interesting in that the Star Wars Battlefront 2 isn't on there, but probably because the earlier the earlier lawsuits that made them scale back and change their things kind of brought it into
enough flack about that one.
It's because by the time these suits have made it to these higher courts, they already fixed that one. But I like that other such games published and developed. I like that catch-all at the end.
The U.S. Again, we're digging into old streams, and definitely check out the archives on YouTube.
Yeah.
The U.S. definitely dealt with it up front, and they kind of did what they do with any video games things, which is, yes, video games, we care a lot about them. Stop it.
Yeah, it ended up like getting settled at a certain point. It didn't make any major legislation. EA had to pay something. Meanwhile, European countries have straight up written legislation regulating surprise mechanics.
I love that term. I absolutely do. In Europe, they are still fighting back and forth in the courts, but the statutes of limitations in, for example, in Italy is 10 years.
Uh-huh.
So their courts don't exactly hustle that bustle to get to.
Yeah. I think New Zealand always seems on top of their shit, so I wouldn't be surprised if they process that right quick. Australia maybe. So I would say we'll keep an eye on that, but I think we know how that's gonna go. Just hey, it's reached Canada now. You next or me next?
I mean, you have something that'll tie into. No, I think we should break the bad news now. You know what?
Okay.
Let's let the people down gently and smoothly.
You don't know how much I was urged to just shout it. Gently and smoothly. You are going to have to wait longer for this game. Dave, are you familiar with Zeno's paradoxes? An ancient Greek philosopher, one of his paradoxes is the Dichotomy Paradox, and I feel that it's been a little inverted here.
Oh.
Where if you want to get to a place, say I want to walk from where I am to where you are,
Yeah.
I must first get halfway. And then from there, before I reach you, I must get halfway. And then halfway again, and then halfway again. And I can never fully reach you. And I feel like that's what it's been with the development of this game. We should have been playing this game a year ago. It was delayed a year. It was delayed 6 months. It was delayed 2 months. It's now been delayed 3 more weeks? 4 more weeks? And I feel like we're going to get to December 7th. We're like, it's almost here. There will be discs in GameStops, in Best Buys, and stuff like that. And then they say, nope, we're delaying it to New Year's. Nope, we're delaying it to February.
I mean, it's good that the most recent delay is only 10 days.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's not like, oh, it's getting pushed to another release quarter. It's just that
It's going down to 10 days, and then it'll get pushed back 7 days, and then 4 days, and then it'll be pushed back 7 hours. All right, I'll be able to play at midnight on December 23rd. What do you mean I gotta wait until 2 p.m.?
I'm really hoping that game doesn't continue to delay itself, because there's only so much bated breath people will wait for.
They gave their reasoning as, although it wasn't originally going to be, it's basically become a launch title for the new generation of consoles. And that they are spending that little bit of extra time to make sure that the Xbox One version, which is backwards compatible to the Xbox Series X, runs as smoothly as possible. Ditto for the PS4 version running on the PS5. We just lost our nope, there we go. So, whoop, oh, whatever. So they're just making sure that they said that just making sure that backwards compatibility is working properly, and it is almost out. So I guess we'll follow that and we'll find out.
Unfortunately, Boater, a little bit more bad news in the fact that it was rumored, it was whispered, it was foretold yonder time and ago when games became $60 at new release, and people said that if you let it happen, there's never going to be a ceiling. Well, some of the PS5 release games are already announced that they are going to be $69.99.
Yep, and I remember hearing about this a few months ago where it was like accidentally leaked. And I forget if we talked about that then, but honestly, games have been $60 since, I want to say, for the Xbox One, the Xbox 360 and PS3. Is something on the USB cable? Games have been $60 for at least 15 years.
Yeah.
Inflation has far outpaced that. The amount of development that goes into the games has far outpaced that. And yes, we have seen DLC and surprise mechanics making up some of that shortfall, but honestly, this has been a long time coming, and as much as it sucks, I'm generally okay with it.
I am hoping.
I'm hoping that like the top AAA ones are at 60, but that there's at 70, but that we still see a lot at the 60 price point. There are games that come out now that we're like, was it really a $60 game? Like the $50 price point really doesn't exist. So I'm hoping that we get that gradation from 70 to 60 to not actually a game at $39.99 and so on down.
So the games that are confirmed
NBA.
to be
Yeah, that was it. Like NBA was leaked ahead of time.
Demon's Souls,
Yep.
Destruction All-Stars, and Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales Ultimate Edition.
Okay.
Will be $69.99. But the standalone release of Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales will be $49.99.
Okay.
And a Sackboy: A Big Adventure, which is a spiritual successor to Little Big Planet.
Yep.
Well, a continuation of the next generations will be $59.99. So our own worldwide studio titles will be priced from $49 to $69 on PS5, said Sony. And then, so this per game price increase has been hinted at for several months. Back in July, it was announced that the PS5 and Series X versions of NBA 2K21 will cost $69, while Ubisoft committed to sticking with the traditional $59 price tag for the time being for the PS4 and the Xbox Series X. We believe our suggested retail price of NBA 2K21 on our next generation platform will, and here comes the PR machine, fairly represent the value of what's being offered. Power, speed, and technology that will only be possible on a new hardware.
Okay, no, so I don't think that glorified roster updates should be 70.
But how does Ubisoft manage to slide under, the 2K representatives?
Yeah, I was gonna
how
say.
do they manage to slide under the fact that so many people should be in jail just from releasing the game in Australia, who has very strict laws on gambling, very strict laws in Europe. The U.S. doesn't give a rat's hat about video games one way or the other. And now Canada. And yet, no. It's going to provide the value.
Well,
what's that
again,
value?
that's different from EA. 2K is different from EA.
They are, but in the same way that, if I hit myself in the face with something heavy and then hit myself in the Nartledang or something heavy, it's a different experience.
I would much rather be hit in the face than the Nartldanger. And kudos to Ubisoft for just kneecapping us. No, but actually for them to say as a publisher that they're going to commit to $59.99 for some unspecified future, I think is a smart move for them, especially if word of that gets out there. Because they're not just a small time thing. Assassin's Creed Valhalla is going to be huge.
Yeah.
And going to be 60, aside from, to be fair, probably whatever special editions they have of stuff where they can then charge $100 to throw in a cheap maquette.
Speaking of, Boater, while you mentioned that, it's funny that you should mention Assassin's Creed Valhalla, because announced today, for all the public to view and see and love, was a tweet from Netflix.
Okay.
Very simple tweet.
Yes.
Not much content to it, except that they showed this. Little 10-second teaser here.
Oh, that's classy. So they are doing a Netflix original series
Of Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, cool.
I am looking forward to it. It does seem like they do have some good folks working with it and on it.
So I'm in the minority in that I really enjoyed the Assassin's Creed film that came out. It felt like the downside was that it felt like a movie with a 4-act structure that cut it off at Act 3. It was one of those movies where I wasn't expecting it to end where they did. And on subsequent viewings, I'm totally fine with it. But I can see where they were leading up to further adventures and there being stuff going on after that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go as far as saying that I hope that the Netflix series continues that which started with Jeremy Irons and Michael Fassbender. But I found that to work really well, and I hope that they use some of that production design. It is going to be a live action thing there, and actually it's even the film that hit theaters in 2016 wasn't the first live action Assassin's Creed. They did a short film series called, I think, Lineage that came out before Assassin's Creed 2. That was a direct prequel to that.
Yeah.
So I look forward to more live action Assassin's Creed. As much as I've just been kind of like really cool on the games post 4 and Rogue, I did enjoy the earlier games. Hint, hint, on the Citadel, I'm going to be starting the first Assassin's Creed game after Nerd Glasses today. I do enjoy those earlier games, and I look forward to seeing what they do with that. Are they going to be more recalling of the older era there, or are they going to launch more off of the current era of stuff? Oh, we'll see. I'm excited to see that.
They did announce 2 of the executives on the franchise are going to be the folks that head up the current Ubisoft film and television division.
Okay.
So Jason
it's going to
Altman.
be mostly in-house with Netflix giving them extra cash and a platform.
It does seem like that's the way it's going to go.
And I think that's how the film was too. I think that Ubisoft had if it wasn't a Ubisoft film, they at least had a lot of creative direction in that, rather than just passing off their IP to someone else.
Let me quickly Wikipedia that just to see
absolutely.
who was. So they worked with a lot of production companies. It was distributed by 20th Century Fox.
Now Disney.
And it looks like it was screenplay was done in house. Production was done by mostly and similar folks that are working on the television series.
Yeah, and
What year did this come out? Because
the film 2016.
Okay, did not see it. Barely knew it existed until I saw some merch for it in Hot Topic, and then thought, oh, cool.
Once we get past these uncertain times, I'd love to watch it with you.
Hell
love to,
yeah!
sit down and watch it with you, because I feel like that'd be fun. I don't know how much Assassin's Creed you've played, but I feel like us doing a commentary on it could be hella fun.
I certainly did go to the midnight release of Brotherhood, because that was the only exposure I had ever had to Assassin's Creed. Was one of my roommates going, "You got a car, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Do you want a free copy of a game?" And I was like, "Sold!" So we drove, and then you know what? I had fun. But then I thought, you know what? I'll try the first one. And he, of course, had all of his copies up to that point.
Yeah.
And going from Brotherhood to the first one, mechanics-wise, is awful. Just awful.
It's a little worse. If you went from Revelations back to the first one, that would be awful. There was a huge shift from Brotherhood to Revelations. The first one, as much as I enjoy it, does feel a little bit like a tech demo. Feels a little bit like... they had their core gameplay, but it was bare bones. They had the skeleton of their core gameplay. In 2 in Brotherhood, that's when they started putting meat on the bones. By the time it got to Unity, it was getting flubby and blah, and hard to see the original skeleton of the concept. Let's see here, really quick. I do want to mention there was a price drop announced today, maybe yesterday, of the Nintendo Joy-Con.
Oh.
To get a single Joy-Con, the price has dropped $10. It is now $39.99 rather than $49.99. That is not a set of Joy-Cons. That is the left or right Joy-Con that you would buy individually.
Oh, God.
You have for $39.99, half the price of what you once paid for the pair of them, $79.99. the new price for the pair of them is actually still $79.99.
I cannot tell you how many people we had a pair of them for $54.99. The amount of people that turned up their nose because they're like, that's too much, and then walked out. And I said, firstly, they're not anywhere outside of that case.
Yeah.
And secondly, they are $80.
Yeah.
And they did.
Yeah, like if they bring up their phone and they're like, oh, I could get a new for $50. No, you could get this one new for $50. You could get these two for $80 or $54.99.
It baffles me how many times, and I know they talk about this on Behind the Counter, but how many times we will get something and everybody will go, oh, that's really nice, I'll be back for it. And then we sell that thing because me, Mike, and Dan aren't shite salesmen.
Yeah.
And then 8 people come back. Do you still have that copy of that thing? No. We had one.
Sold it.
And now it's gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
God, I hate people with the Joy-Cons especially. I feel bad for the people that got struck with the drift on the Joy-Cons.
Yep.
I have fallen victim to that. Fortunately, I had the wherewithal to buy another set of Joy-Cons, first of all because I like to play video games with my wife, and secondly because I thought to myself, it never hurts to have 4. It really never hurts to have...
We got our Switch. I'm trying to think when we got our Switch. I think we got it like February or something, like just before the bad times and everyone wanting to get a Switch hit. We got it. It had like the black hand. Might have even gotten it for ourselves for Christmas. We got it. It had the black Joy-Cons. Eventually, I ended up getting a pair that was like the purple and orange. We also got a Pro controller to be able to play games like that. And then it must have been for Christmas because someone brought over a Switch and their Pro controller, and they left their Pro controller at our house. And eventually, we asked 3 people, "Is this yours?" And all of them were like, "Nope." And it's ours now. So we have 2 sets of Joy-Cons and 2 Pro controllers.
Hey. If people are going to bring something like that and then not remember that they had it, that's more on them.
Yeah, so like Steph and I have each been with a Pro controller playing Animal Crossing together. Talk
That's
about
awesome.
unnecessary.
You know what else is unnecessary, Boater?
What?
When you're playing games in a competitive manner and you look down the tournament seating and you realize, hey, if we don't win this round, we'll have a way easier journey to the title than if we win this round.
Ooh, someone intentionally going to the loser's bracket of double elimination, or?
Oh, worse.
Oh, God.
So, Rainbow Six Siege, highly competitive, very toxic community, but if you're good, you're that good.
Yeah.
There was a team, Cyclops Gaming, playing in the majors, and people were watching and they said they're just not playing as hard as they were. It just seems like they're not doing very well. And one of the coaches then went on Twitter and just literally went, quote, "For anyone wondering why we played like that," and then showed literally the reason with the brackets highlighted as to what their path would have been and what it now is. Genius. Unfortunately, it was against the tournament's bylaws, so suspensions will be handed out to their current roster, and so their B team journey, their B roster is going to have to now take the journey that was easy for the A roster.
Yeah. Yeah, like that's That's an interesting gamble to make, but also like it's the kind of thing that it's like, no, that is a good gaming the system. It's against the spirit of things, but that's kind of, playing the meta, playing the game, whatever, like that. Cool motive still illegal, yeah. And so it is something that was such a proven strategy that it's in their standard bylaws of don't sandbag, dude, come on.
A bunch of the gamers that were a part of it thankfully thought cool move still illegal, says Demon Dragon.
Yeah. Cool mode is still illegal.
Thankfully, some of the pro players on that team that were a part of the sandbag thought, I need to retire from this team because this will follow me forever.
Yeah.
None of the names are names that we've mentioned on the program, and I know our viewership are not very familiar with the R6 community, but just know that some of those players really do have a conscience and decided to walk away while the walk-in was good.
Yeah.
Speaking of just take the high road, did you know, Boater, that the U.S. Navy has a Twitch account?
Oh my God, I know where you're going with this one. Yeah, the Army, the Navy, the armed forces use Twitch as a recruiting platform, and the community is not here for it, and will constantly ask many questions of the streamers. Their favorite being, "What is your favorite war crime committed by the U.S. military?"
So, the Navy released an official statement stating the U.S. Navy training materials related to its controversial Twitch channel. According to this July manual, Navy streamers will be prepped to respond with the question, "What's your favorite U.S. war crime?" with 4 different statements.
Yeah.
I'm here to play games. I have no interest in engaging in personal attacks. Fair, concise, gets to the point and moves on.
It's not a personal attack on them. It's an attack on their organization.
Exactly.
So that's
Which brings up...
that's conflating support our troops with support our wars.
Which brings up if you have concerns about the Navy policies or actions, I suggest you contact the federal elected officials from your state. Which then leads into...
Okay, but you're in there as a representative of the Navy, and you should be able to answer these things.
Which then leads into, I am here to hang out with people like me who love gaming. If you want to know more about my life in the Navy, I am happy to discuss, but I will not speak on behalf of others.
Then why are you streaming on an official Navy account rather than just your own?
And which leads me, I'm really glad you've responded in this way to each of them sequentially, which then leads to the response and the last one that they are supposed to engage with. I understand some people are here to oppose the military and have no interest in a Navy career, but for those who are curious about what it's like to serve, let's talk.
That's an interesting redirection, because it doesn't actually address the question. It says, hey, let's talk about what it's like to be in the Navy, not hold my employer to task.
It does, which is kind of the reason why when your employer is the one that runs the Twitch channel, they're going to dictate what you say.
Yeah.
So if you enjoy making people uncomfortable, or watching people be uncomfortable, definitely tune into absolutely any U.S. Armed Forces official channel stream.
Yep.
And just watch, because every 10, 15 minutes, somebody donates a large enough amount of money, cheers a large enough amount of channel points, or cheers a large enough amount of bits where the streamer is faced with a question that normally they would just let go by in the scroll and things like that. On the side of the streamers themselves, nice that the Navy has now officially told them something instead of letting these people just twist in the wind.
Yeah, and again, this was something that was like back in July, and I don't think that it was actually publicly released. This was a leaked document from back then that just came to light.
Yes.
Well, little puppy.
Thank you, Freedom of Information Act.
Yes, that's what it wasn't leaked. It was officially requested. That's right.
So, you know how Twitch went through and did just a bunch of DMCA takedowns?
Yep.
Deleting thousands of videos and giving streamers copyright strikes for things because of the music industry. Well, Twitch decided that they were going to tease that something was going to happen on November 14th. It's likely going to be like a digital convention, although they decided to put out a picture that said, here, all the Kappas are golden, and then changed all Kappa emotes to gold.
Okay.
So, all of the streamers who were contacting Twitch in regards to, hey, main part of my content is music content, things like that. What are you doing about it? And Twitch goes, we'll get to you. Don't worry, we're looking into it.
And then Just
Did you see we have golden kappas, though, guys? Isn't it gonna solve all the problems?
yeah.
That they're celebrating some sort of anniversary for Twitch and ignoring a large amount of their moneymakers that are now kind of in the hole about it.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Hooray. Dave, we're about to hit 8 o'clock, but you said you got a lot of responses for a question post to the community. I definitely want to hear about that.
Awesome.
And then I want to give a PSA.
So, I posted a question to friends and family. Have any of you done meetups on eBay, Facebook Marketplace, or Craigslist, or have other meetup-based individual sales? How did it go? Because this Friday, I am potentially going to get mugged, or I'm going to get a sealed Final Fantasy VII Remake Deluxe Edition for $60, which is substantially less than the other resellers are selling it for.
Nice.
More on that next week. But a lot of my friends were giving very helpful advice or just chatting about their experiences. Vladdy93 with the creepiest response saying, I got my gamer chair off Craigslist. Was brand new, still in the box. It's a massage chair, apparently.
Huh.
Friend of the stream, Fenian, got tires off Craigslist a long time ago, and then was nice enough to start saying, just remember, meet in a public place, make sure you have you see the goods before handing over any cash, and the old rule that boot knives are your friend and don't need a permit. Akai admitted and that he does a good deal of transactions of that and has never had an issue. Kai, it's because you're 10 feet tall. People aren't going to mess with you. They're going to mess with Dave. Rafe Wolf said, I got a few different items from Facebook Marketplace when I moved to Syracuse. A nice shelf, a bench, a number of cat toys or cat trees. I always met them in the daytime. I also exclusively dealt with women every time.
Mm-hmm.
Fair.
Yeah.
And then Anti-Claus Prime comes up with an emphatic hell no. A few stupid but mostly harmless troublesome experiences I made with eBay are enough that I did not bother with it anymore over the last 10 years. Had dumb reviews as a seller and lost money as a buyer. Certainly don't want to meet any of these people. Screw that. People are just too weird. True that. True that.
Demon Dragon says, aren't there spots in police station parking lots for that purpose? Maybe in some? Maybe not for like a little podunk town, whatever. You just like meet up and start exchanging stuff. They're going to be like, what the hell is he? I've got two stories, actually. One, last year I bought some racing seats for the car that I had at the time off of eBay. And it was a pickup in person in North Carolina. And I made a road trip out of it. And I made a video out of the road trip. And I just posted that link into chat. And that was... It was, all right, cool, we're going to meet up here. And I was given an address. And it was supposed to be, oh yeah, it's the Harris Teeter grocery store here. And there wasn't one quite at the address, but I found one nearby. And I'm like, well, the guy's not here yet, but okay. And I'm doing a piece to camera when my phone rings. Yeah, you're across from the YMCA, right? And I was like, no. So he gave me the address of a different one. Met up another 15 minutes later. And easily moved the seats over.
Nice.
The other one I'm going to say wasn't in eBay or Craigslist. It wasn't a personal transaction. But Demon Dragon, it's worth sharing the story of when we picked up Ronan. Our first dog that we got, we adopted him from a rescue in, I want to say, South Carolina.
Yeah.
A place that does drop-offs all up and down the East Coast. We more or less got him sight unseen. We had seen pictures, whatever, but we didn't, hang out with him to make sure that everything fit. It was just, all right, cool. Here's the adoption fee, paid by credit card ahead of time. And it's good that we paid by credit card ahead of time because it was going to be on such and such a date at in the afternoon. And then, oh, well, actually, it's going to be in the morning. And then, oh, we don't have any Syracuse drop-offs, so we'll be there 4 in the morning. So here's the story of us at 4 in the morning in front of a hotel where the drop-off is to happen. 4 in the morning. And we're sitting there, and thankfully there's a little old couple in a Buick or something next to us. And we see a van go by. And not stop. at the cars with people sitting in them in the front of the parking lot. They go around the back of the building by the dumpster. And we follow them. And again, it's a good thing that A, there was an older couple picking up a Shih Tzu or something, and B, that we had paid credit card ahead of time, because otherwise it would have been, here's a manila envelope full of cash, and you give me a Doberman mix by the dumpsters behind a Holiday Inn at 4 in the morning.
Didn't Michael Vick go to prison for that? Like almost exactly that, actually.
I don't think he went to prison for that, but I think that was involved in some of the backstory.
Okay. We'll have to look into that some other time. But I'm very glad that that Ronan was able to survive the. Ronan's adorable. Ronan's also fragile and a precious puppy. I love Ronan.
He's the best.
He is the best, and I could just picture that face of, I don't like it.
Oh no!
It's creepy.
At the time, he was just like so tired and just happy to climb into another car and go home and sleep. He was okay.
Oh, God.
I'm with people who have a spot in a car for me to sleep in. Oh, pup.
I'm not in a van with that damn Shih
or whatever it was. We are 5 minutes over at this point, but I want to take a moment and talk to our U.S.-based viewers. I don't know how much I should use this platform to tell you who to vote for or who to vote against, so I won't. I will say, though, go out and vote, please. It is my belief that this election is the most important one that has happened within my lifetime. You can ask me more about that on the Citadel afterward. I'll talk maybe more about that at length, certainly, while trying to play the game. But, get out the vote efforts have always kind of been a thing in media, and I'm happy to use a bit of a platform to do that. Other people who have used that, actually, in the past couple weeks, you could use the Dream feature within Animal Crossing New Horizons to visit a Joe Biden island that would urge you to go and vote. You could catch the man himself wandering around with aviator sunglasses shouting "No malarkey." So, okay, cool. And then in this past week, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said, "I'm thinking of maybe streaming Among Us. Who's in?" And within hours, her staff set up a Twitch account. Twitch worked with her to get her a verified 3-letter account, AOC, and played with big names like Corpse, Valkyrie, Jacksepticeye. And while it was neat from the aspect of, 20 years ago, oh yeah, I think this guy would be great for president. I'd really like to get a beer with him. I feel like this generation is very much, I think that person would be great in office. I would love to play Among Us with them.
It's good to see that video games are actually joining the popular consensus in these are ways of reaching people, these are ways of communicating, things like that.
And there's ways to do it well, and there's ways to do it poorly, and you can make your arguments either way about the Animal Crossing island. I for one am just. I'll leave it.
It's good that people are using resources that are out for them and things like that. The overarching point from both of us is you have a voice, use it however you are going to choose to use your own voice, but don't let other people speak for you. Use your voice and your vote.
So if you are of legal voting age and you are a registered voter, vote. Vote early if you're in a place where you can. Make it count. Demon Dragon AOC plays League of Legends 2. She used to. She stated during the Among Us stream that she was very rusty. Although when she was asked who she mains, she said, I forget who she said, but it was a support character. And people were like, that works really well. That tracks. We're getting to the time when gamers are getting into office and will be judged for their gaming habits. Like, ooh, that guy plays Call of Duty. What are his foreign policies gonna be?
Basically, if you happen to search in Italy's history, look up a man named Silvio Berlusconi.
Oh, I think I remember this.
And look at how someone that is so ingrained in popular culture can in fact become the Prime Minister of Italy ever in the modern era. So definitely get out there. Definitely make sure you vote. But speaking of making sure you're out there and you're doing things, Boater, what's going on the Citadel after this?
After this on the Citadel, starting a bit late, but that's okay because we had important things to talk about. As mentioned before, I will be playing Assassin's Creed. The first Assassin's Creed game that came out in 2007, that skeleton of the idea that ended up being fleshed out in later games. True to form with the Citadel, as we play this game, while we are also still in the middle of Mad Max and Dragon Age 2, we will be talking about what makes it work, what still works 13 years later, and what either was bad at the time or has really aged poorly as time has gone on. So I'm excited to play this again. I haven't finished this game in a long time. It is one of fewer than half a dozen games that I have gotten the full 1,000 gamer score on Xbox 360.
Nice.
I stuck with it that long, and I'm excited to go back to the Crusades era. It's backwards compatible on Xbox One. I started a game of it a few years ago again, and never got to the end, so it'll be my first time trying to play all the way through it in a very long time, so I'm excited.
Definitely make sure to hit that follow button here on Insane Games TV. Get your acknowledgement and your friendship here with us. Make sure to hit that bell so you get notified every time Insane Games TV goes live. 7 days a week worth of content, folks, for just one follow. Podcasts, live streams, and you never know when we're going to whip out some sort of carousel build in the middle of the new store.
Dave,
yeah.
It needs the music.
I mean, that was one of the other jokes as I sat in it, and they spun me around in it.
Were they singing the carousel?
No, they didn't, but they thought
should
that should be a part of it. Make sure to check us out on all of your social media platforms where you can, down in the links below, for more information, for more insider news. And the countdown to the new set has begun, and make sure to tune in every week so you stay with us with the most information we have and the latest and greatest on Insane Games and Insane Games TV. For all of us here, I've been Dave Man.
And I've been Boater.
Have a great night and a good fight.